So what if Christ never died and they lied to us? I mean, everybody has their own private interpretation, and everybody is allowed to give their opinions towards whatever they feel is true, a lie, or you just kind of want to maybe think up your own explanation as to what you think might have happened if you use a little bit of common sense and go by some basic, like a few basic things to understand, which is, number one, you got to keep this in mind at all times. The elite know what the truth is, day in and day out, for since the beginning. They're the ones that keep the records. So when you hear, like, you know, I think Steve's the only one that is saying that the Messiah in the flesh at the end days is supposed to die. Everybody else is saying that they're just going to, like, get raptured up out of here or something like that. Or are they? Well, what's Kleck saying? He hasn't really explained it very well as to how he physically thinks it's going to happen. Because I remember when I thought that we were going to get raptured and our bodies stay here, I at least tried to explain how I thought. Like, all right, fine. I don't know, when it's time, you know how you die in an instant? Well, when it's time, then the only thing the guy has to do is just snap his fingers, and then your body drops and your spirit goes up, and then your dead body doesn't suffer to be buried because it's just laying in the street. And but then I realized more after talking back and forth with Justin that we're all staying right here. This is, you know, within the past year and a half, I think I changed my mind. Because then I understood that, yeah, that makes sense. We all stay here. They played us out in the skies and in the TV. All these miracle signs and wonders to deceive everybody that lives on the earth. So they do that. They play everybody. They get you to think you're left behind. They tell you that it's nothing but Satan's people are going to be ruling the earth. If you're left behind, if you don't get freaking raptured up out of here, you're stuck here for the next 1,000 years. Satan's going to rule. You got to stop being ignorant of this one thing. That one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years was as May 21st, 2011. It was a day. So get that out of your mind, that Satan's going to rule for 1,000 years. And on top of that, the number 1,000 just represents complete. Whatever's in mind, it means complete. Like 10, 100, 1,000, 10, it just means a complete amount of number. Or people, or whatever is in mind. Just like 7 means perfect fulfillment. Kleck will tell you it means destruction and slaughter and death, but it means perfectly fulfilled. So again, to each his own, whatever you want to believe. You want to believe number 7 represents murder and death of the frickin' 144,000 virgin sheeps? No, it means a perfect fulfillment. You know, that's why Kleck likes to clap 7 times. He loves doing that victory. Victory. Yeah, you get victory for 3.5 days. We already know that. Like, duh. You act like... And then somebody else gets victory after you, Stephen James, for only a few days. It's been written already. So we stay right here on Earth. Satan doesn't rule for the next 1,000 years. He actually gets to rest for the next 1,000 years. Because he knows that one day was his... You know, when the man-child was being conceived, at that point, Satan had to have shut his face for 1,000 years. And then after 1,000 years was up, it's like, go ahead, Satan, go ahead, go. There was a nourishing time for like 1,260 days. And then there's like a period at the end. There's like a 42-month period. But it probably was, you know, look at however you want. Yeah, but they're doing this thing where everything is 8 years behind. Because now they're starting up at the beginning of October 21st, 2011, what we're going to start seeing is what Harold Camping thought would happen literally back then. And everybody gave him a hard time about it. Everybody. You know, Paul Begley is taking here's what's going on. Paul Begley is copying Harold Camping. He's copying him. He's not doing a good job of copying him. Nobody's like Harold. He's one of a kind. And then Kleck is playing me. So back in 2011, when I woke up, well actually 2008, I just really started to understand it's a world script now. That's what the last 42 months was all about. Figuring out the world script. The first 3.5 years, 3 years, 4 years was dumbfounded. You just like, I woke up towards the warning, God's judgment. I didn't realize God's judgment was going to happen through the 144,000 on a platform like YouTube and throughout the world, wherever they are in high places. The ones that are in high places it's not just one person. It's 144,000. They are all spread out. Steve knows every one of them. Jonathan Kleck, he knows them. They know the truth, but they suppress it and they hide it. They keep it a secret. And then they hire people to harass you, cyber stalk you, and walk the street stalk you. They do. They hire people to do that. And then once they realize they can't beat you, then they join you. I mean, if you can't beat somebody, don't you wind up joining them? It's more satisfying when a multitude is able to finally join someone that comes up with a small people. The multitude, which is the elite, they join the minority, the 144,000. Because they heard about the 144,000 from their ancestors through the books that they kept secret. And they know that back then, when Christ was walking the earth back then, they knew that, you know, his disciples, I believe they represent the 144,000, don't they? Like each 12 represents a tribe, and then the tribe spreads out, and their seed conceives 144 total, or it was just 144 people. Still, 144,000 does mean a complete amount of, virgins. Virgins, not sexually virgins, just virgins that, they're being used for the first time. It is basically the foundation definition of what virgin means, being used for the first time. And that's why they're calling us virgins, because they plan on rounding us up and raping all of us and having us being used for the first time. That's what their plan is. I'm not afraid of whatever they push and say. We're going to find out if this is real, one way or another, because I'm tired of the fear pushing. And I do know that, or at least I feel like the elite, they know there's different people out there that know you can't deceive in a certain way. So then once they know you know their script on that end, then because they know that you can interpret what they're saying, how they side talk, then they'll start side talking as if they're going to rape the 144,000 and then try to get you to fear that. I know how they talk now. But what I'm saying is these 144,000 or 144 individuals, there's some of them that are in those high places. They are already collaborating together with each other. They already know when that time happens what the plan was. Hell no. But you still got to get thrown through the lion's den. You still got to go through the fake ass fire. You can't get singed by fire that doesn't even singe your hair or your cloak, because images can't, they can't, like, you can't get burnt by them. I mean, you can get burnt. If you believe it, you are burnt. The people that believe these angels that are going to ascend up on one side of Kleck's wall, and then on the second floor, you're going to see really, really scary, like, there's going to be a fight. It's going to be a battle up, and it's going to be freaking really cool looking. Man, I can't wait. But the people that are going to be shitting their pants, I'm going to laugh even harder. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to enjoy this damn show and then watch the angels descending on the right side of Kleck's wall, because they're going to build a wall in troublous times. And Donald Trump, he's building a wall too. But they're really, the wall that the Bible's talking about is this wall here. This wall here, the wall of pride, the one that doesn't allow Christ into your heart, because you don't like love. I love to hate you is what I love to do, Rabin. But then I kind of love you. You really mess with my inside. You really mess with my faith, Lord. I'm supposed to hate you, but then I love you, and it's like, what the hell do I do? And that's the mixed emotions that you guys are having. And look, you know it's true. You can pretend it ain't to your boys, and you know you feel that way. So all these, these images that we're going to see in the skies are it's going to be fantastic if you know where it's coming from, because then you don't get burnt. And then the fire that you see coming from heaven too. And we're going to see so many explosions everywhere. Like when it's time to cut the power and everything, and this show happens, like the grand finale. You know how like fireworks at the end of the show, it just goes off. It's going to be man. And then every part of the next neighborhood's going to look like it's blown up, because that's how they'll make it look. And they'll tell you to like flee to the FEMA, to flee, come on, to Walmart and the other stores, Targets and Home Depots. Come on, you'll be safe over here. Get away from the radiation. We're gonna start seeing that really soon. It feels like Halloween is that because it's the 31st. It's 10 days past going into perdition. Even Steve admitted we're in perdition with his video the other day, talking about the witches. How there's something about as we're in perdition. So he knows we're in perdition. Kleck knows. That's why they're doing this. The 7th and of the 8th is going into perdition. The 7th and of the 8th year since October 21st, 2011, when Harold Camping retired. When he retired, Kleck, Steve, and the rest, the Begleys, and they all took over. Because Harold Camping was tormenting everybody for the 50 years beforehand, because all the churches hated him, because he spoke out against those hypocrites. He's the one that had spiritual understanding. They didn't. He knew you didn't burn in hell in a literal place. So did they. But they were still teaching it. But they didn't have spiritual understanding like Harold Camping did. So once he was silenced, you know, he had a stroke 3 weeks after May 21st, 2011. Slowed him down, but he kept going. And then, because he just would keep going non-stop, day after day, one video after another. You know, you and your magic channels, Harold Camping. How do you do it? Hour and a half every day. We gotta listen to you? Oh, man. And they thought the case was closed when he retired. They're like, yes, there's no bald-headed Elisha on the way. It's just him. He's going. And then it's like 4 years later, between 3.5, 4 years later, this bald-headed clown pops up. He starts mocking everybody. Hey, who does he think he is? And then, and how does he know what we're doing? Like, oh shit! Uh-oh! I think the Bible's coming true again. But see, they already had the truth from before, their ancestors, and this is why. Okay, what are the theories out there? Let's just go over the theories, and I'll tell you my story. If I was to write a book about what if Jesus Christ didn't really get crucified on an actual cross, but it was spiritual, like he just got crucified daily, and they kept tormenting and torturing him and poking him in the side, like they're like, in other words, they were like a thorn in his side, is what they were. And so, what if he really didn't die? And they just interpreted it that way to scare you, to make you think that Christ has to die this time, because let's face it, whatever Stephen James DeShawn is saying that's supposed to happen to Christ is the exact opposite. Whoever he's saying he is, he isn't. He's the exact opposite. Whatever he's saying about me, it ain't true. It's really what he's saying about himself. So you learn how to play opposites, and then that's so weird. Like, is that why opposites attract? Like, not in that way. Not, I don't attract like that. Maybe you do to me. Whatever. I don't blame you. But look, I don't attract in that way. But I attract where, it's like this. Satan was so disgusting to me my entire life. He made me so sick. And then I started to understand him. Once you start understanding him, you realize, he is a hired worker by your father, his father, and yours. The Father, Creator. Did God the Father not create Satan? Did God the Father not create Christ? Did he not create negative and positive, good and evil? Isn't he the grandfather of all? Of course he is. So when you realize that Satan is like a little brother that's annoying as all hell, and he's just looking for attention, and then when you finally give him attention, because this is what I did to everybody that was hired on YouTube as a Satan's employee, I started to give you guys attention, didn't I? Didn't I start reading your comments out loud? Didn't I, when I did the live streams, didn't I do that to you? Wouldn't I comment back to you? Didn't I make videos about you guys? Didn't I mock all of you? Anyone that I thought I knew what they looked like with a faceless troll, I would put a face to it and a personality to it, and then mock you and make you laugh. Didn't I give you guys attention? All you, look, this ain't a knock on you, but you guys have been hired by Satan, and God hired Satan. Why do you think Kleck's doing so much work at these last days? He truly is busy as all hell, because he has to do so much work in the world to try to deceive everybody. And the only thing I have to do is push record and talk. And it defeats all of it. You'll see. Watch. You'll see in the end. The only thing I have to do is push record, speak my mind, gather my evidence. Here, look, here's free. You'll see that it blows them out of the water, all 450 of them, because they can't keep up. They gotta continually lie. They gotta continually remember their lie. Collecting his stories, he has to tell his stories all the time and repeat it. That way, it's you guys will remember it, the bullshit. He'll remember the bullshit, and you just keep doing it, and eventually, that's how you brainwash people into believing what you want them to believe. But the true definition of brainwashing is to cleanse your damn brain from the filth, the dirt. You see how everything's turned upside down? When you turn it right back upside, you get the true definition out of it. Kleck is there to turn everything literally upside down. He's telling you that those that hide their plans turn things upside down. What the hell is he doing besides turning shit upside down? So all this stuff that we're gonna see in the sky, all the media, all the collaboration of, I guess it's fun for them because it gives them something to do, and it's probably exciting for you guys to set up stuff and deceive everyone. I get it. I understand why it's a thrill. I wouldn't participate in it, but I understand the feeling as to, like, it's worldwide. Like your Kleck, look, your everything you just set up in, like, Texas to show us your power as a tornado Kleck. The Kleckites are coming after us, and you get to sit back and watch it on the news. Like, yeah, that here, come here, look, watch. There I am. That's me. Yep, Home Depot. Yep. Because I do the same thing. It's like when I see that you created the tornado, the little wind, but you really demolished the building. I'm not even sure you put bombs in it. You probably had like a crane come by. All right, get out. And you just made it look like that. That's probably more like it. And then when I see that event happens and Home Depot's mentioned, and I'm just pointing at the day before, I'm just pointing at the Home Depot. I'm pointing to my brain, number one. I'm pointing to this, meaning I'm thinking ahead of you guys. I'm going to point to the next event. So when I say the only thing I have to do is tell you what I think is going to happen, tell you how I feel about the world and the people in it, and then just let it happen. And then all the setting up, the amount of people that you guys hired, all of Satan's employees, it's purposed by them to do it. God understands. He's the one that created it and orchestrated it. He knows, he understands humanity. So that's why when he's using Satan right now, and he's using him to deceive the top commander, he deceived the top commander. Kleck is deceived still. I don't believe Steve is. He talks, like, I know it's hard to understand it, but the good side of him, I hear 144,000 speech. I hear the good side of him. I understand how he speaks in tongues, which means there has to be something there that if I can relate to that side, then there's intelligence to that end. So that's why I truly believe it. And even if Steve wasn't even supposed to be Saul, and then he turned into Paul, well, he is now. So just speak things into existence, and then they start happening. Because if you have faith, if you have faith in what you're saying, and then you see these things start to take place with your faith that you had, and I'm speaking of myself right now, and then in general to everybody else, but the faith I have, the gut feeling I get inside when I sense these events, and then they happen, well, that's the confirmation of the faith that I created back then, and then it becomes manifested fate. It's like proof. And then you build off of that. So that's why I feel like Steve already changed his mind, but he still has to follow through and pretend that he's against us, when he's one of the 144,000 that has changed in high places. I've said this before, that I feel like 144,000 spread out throughout the world, and a lot of them are in high places, in the elites, like the elite bloodline. All right, I'll even take it as far as that, because I don't see that it has nothing to do with the damn blood. It has nothing to do with your blood. If you're spiritual, it's because of your spirit and your mind and your soul. Your flesh is, well, Satan rules that, so there's that. The blood is in the flesh. Well, the flesh is ruled by Satan, so, but if you believe it, you can believe it too. It doesn't really hurt one way or another. I don't see it hurting. So, because I've thought before that the 144,000 is in high places, and that's what's going to change the world, because that changes the world, I'm giving you an example of one of the people that I feel like is in high places that has changed and will make a difference. And then with Jonathan Clegg, if my theory is right, and the 144,000 are 72,000 Satan's prophets, the devil's prophets, and 72,000 of God's, Christ's prophets. If that theory is correct, and then on top of that, I changed my mind, because I thought the 144 were conceived right at the end of the fifth trumpet and the seal. But it says don't hurt any green grass, when the sixth seal comes about. Don't hurt any green thing until we've sealed, God's people, the 144,000, because he heard the number of them. So that's where I changed my mind with, because again, I'll interpret the Bible as I go, however I feel like I understand it now. I'll say it out loud, and it'll change. It'll change with knowledge increasing. But am I supposed to care that people are going to say something like, "Well, you can't do that, Rod. You have to stick with what you believe." I believe in knowledge increasing, and you're going to have to change your mind. If you don't, then you're going to be stuck, left the frick behind, like with the rapture. You're going to be left behind. You're going to be asked out, and you're going to be burnt by the images. Look, if anything, I can't be faulted for giving my opinion towards what I feel is true at that exact moment, and being hot or cold, not being afraid to interpret what I think a verse means. Because what are you supposed to do? Stick with what you believed your entire life? Or change with your knowledge that it continually increases? I'll stick with changing the route, because you got to switch things up, because the elite switch things up. But you got to be thinking ahead of time where they're going to be at and what they're going to do. That way, their gig can come to an end, because it's been understood, predicted, and everybody's waking up to it too. So whoever's watching this channel, I truly believe that there are a lot of the 144,000 on this channel alone. That's what I truly believe. And some of yous are devil's prophets. And some of yous are prophets, the Christ prophets, the Spirit of Christ. Some of yous are the spirit devils. Don't you know that in the end, Adam and Eve reconcile back together? Not in the, not like that, Clegg. All right, not like that. However, there is a reconciliation. It's just a spiritual one, and it's not a literal one. Because that's what the elite are doing. They're playing the Bible's end time prophecy out. in a literal sense, and trying to put fear in everybody's heart. When they understand the spiritual side as well, okay, they understand, they know more than I do, because they understood the spiritual end of it. At least the ones that came up with hidden understanding dark sentences. You know, at least Steve definitely knows. And Click understands some too. But I think that because they've had records of Christ the entire time, they know the truth. And when they talk like the way that they did back then, and then we look at it now, and it's actually a figure of speech how they talked back then. So we're trying to interpret how they were talking back then. And if they hopped into the future and seen the shit that we're talking about and how we use slang words, they would be trying to interpret what the hell we're talking about and take it literal too, or take it too spiritual or something. Vice versa. So if Christ never died, and he didn't literally get hung to a cross, and they didn't really drag his body and put it in it's a spiritual meaning behind it all the way through. If that actually happened, right, and he preached for 3.5 years and he was cut off halfway through because he was preaching to who? The Gentiles first or the Jews? I would think it'd be the Gentiles first, and then when the elite said, all right, Christ, look, you proved your point. All right, look, here, what we're going to do is we're going to cut you off, and then 3 days later, you know, we're going to send you back up from, because right now you're with us in the beast of the belly of the beast. You're in the underground. We're introducing you to everybody underground here, all the Jews, right? We need you to preach to my kids, you know. Look, I'm sorry. We just need you to preach to our children for the next 3.5 years. Look, you can get wherever you want. You want 144 acres? Fine, here, take it. You and Mary go along, have your children, have a little lamb, whatever you want to do, and you know, we'll leave you alone. We'll stop stalking you and harassing you. Because look, yeah, we're sorry. You know, you're right. You're right. You do know what we were doing, the Sadducees and Pharisees, and you know, you did hang out with us, the sinners and the publicans and the you know, the liars, and you know, you're pretty cool, Christ. You know, you hung out with us in the marketplace, and you know, you flipped the tables over of our bosses. But that's some brave shit you did right there. I mean, gotta respect you for that. I mean, you're just one person. Like, fucking throw a set of balls like that. And so anyway, you know, just preach on for the next 3.5 years. Wherever you want to live is fine with us. Just let us know what you need. You know, you want to